Hello, everybody can hear me in my channel. Right, we're trying a dual stream. It's on Richard's at the same time. He's in charge of production tonight, so that is why it's a wee bit like this. But this is the picture he's trying to show. Can you hear me, Richard?
Yes, that's a beautiful picture, is it not? Amazing work. There. Now everyone can see it very well.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Enoch. So that's what we're aiming for.
So here we have Enoch the scribe, which was usually reserved for people of somewhat higher class. You know, learning to read and write in that day and age was, well, highly unusual to be literate. Okay, that's lovely. Thanks for sharing that, brother.
No bother, man. No bother. Okay, so yes, everybody, welcome to the second series of A History of. And this time we're going to take on the Book of Enoch.
Yes, sir. The Book of Enoch.
Richard has read it before. I have not. But we should hopefully... Look at that. There we go.
Isn't that lovely? Almost like I knew what I was doing. I think I played the intro twice because I didn't know it wouldn't automatically stop. I didn't know it we'll just play it twice. We'll just go with it. What the heck? That should be fun.
Yeah, it worked. It worked. So on my end, everybody here
go ahead.
Okay and see okay on my end, yes? I think so. We'll go on ahead. If people complain, we'll come back.
Okay, so I'm actually not going to be able to see this screen, but I'm in a chair, so I'm centered on the camera, so I should be good to go. My intent for this, I think this would work very, very well if I just started reading the text aloud and stopped wherever I like and invite you to stop me anytime you like. Anything that comes to your head at all. Or if in your side chat, people make a comment and they want to tag you, use the name @MathPig, and you want to stop me based on your side chat, we'll stop for your side chat, and we'll stop for mine as well, and I'll try to keep an eye on that.
Perfect.
Okay? Lovely. Let's get her started. So I won't be able to see this screen right here for now, but we'll keep switching it back and forth as I can. Whenever we stop, I'll switch screens. Okay?
Well, the way I was thinking, Richard, is if we read maybe first wee bits and then you give me you just stop when it comes to the end of a story, to the end of a point, and then we criticize it, go over it, go back and forth, because I'd like to hear your interpretation, and I'm not going to know where you're coming from unless you actually share that with us.
Oh, sure, but I'm gonna even go slower than that. I mean, in principle, I agree with you. That's the way it should be done. But it's going to go even slower than that. So we'll have plenty of time to think about it and talk about it, I promise. I won't just rush through and read. I'm not even going to read one paragraph, probably, except for I think was 5 is only like one sentence. But I probably won't be even reading an entire paragraph without stopping. There's almost no way. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The Book of Enoch, Chapter 1. The word of the blessing of Enoch, how he blessed the elect and the righteous, who were to exist in the time of trouble. Rejecting all the wicked and ungodly, Enoch, a righteous man, who was with God, answered and spoke while his eyes were opened and while he saw a holy vision in the heavens. This the angels showed me. Okay, so in the time of trouble, now he's talking about angels here, and he's going to continue to talk about angels. This is going to flow right into the Watchers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the time of trouble. Now, because people want to confirm their religion, it is true that we have always tried to say this prophecy or this other prophecy has already happened. And we're very apt to do that in our short-sightedness, not knowing when the end is. But just because something that can be correlated to this text has already happened doesn't mean the prophecy has been fulfilled. This is very much like Nostradamus. where people say, oh, Nostradamus could see the future because he got 18 quatrains that were maybe or perceivably accurate. Well, what they're skipping in that is he wrote 4,000 quatrains.
Yeah, that's one people that don't realize is how much he actually wrote. You know, he's bound to get one or two right.
Yeah, it's like knocking an arrow and shooting at a blank wall, and then people coming and painting a target around it and saying you got a bullseye. Well, you know, that's just not reasonable, and I think that's with religious texts, including this one. People have done that. Okay, so the time of trouble, quote unquote, right there, isn't necessarily what the Christians are saying was, you know, say for instance, Egypt and the captivity, or perhaps they think it's talking about the Tower of Babel, or perhaps they think it's talking about the flood. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's talking about any of those events or the other events that you guys can all think of. It just doesn't necessarily mean that. But I'm going to say that the time of trouble, according to this, looking at it as one work, is actually the big time of trouble. Like end times, right, is what he's talking about.
So seeing that the end time hasn't happened, just to set the precedent, something like David and Goliath's story, you think this is due to happen, not has happened?
Well, you know, my personal belief is that none of this has happened here on this planet. So this not that it has never happened ever, but it's never happened on this. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. So it's the story of the end times from a previous civilization being in line with what you believe.
And this is a little bit off topic, but I'd also say that the Native Americas, those tribes, they have a creation story which is the same as ours for the Christians. That it also exists in Hinduism. If you look into Hinduism, it has that same story. I would not be surprised, although I do not yet know, to find out that the Aboriginal Australians have that story in a form that makes sense to them.
Yeah, well, nearly every generation has a creation story. It's how we justify where we came from. But your interpretation of how they all could be similar or different is down to your own personal and you. But, right, go on ahead with the next one. I just wanted to set the precedent that you think that this has not happened here, but has happened on another planet?
On another, I would call them Earths.
Another Earth.
I would say I think Earth should just be lowercase.
Cool.
Okay, and I can show that and why I believe that in spiritual texts from around the planet, why I'm saying that. But that's another conversation possibly. It's another series. Well, that's going to be a long series. That's a big explanation. Enoch, a righteous man, who was with God, answered and spoke while his eyes were opened, and while he saw a holy vision in the heavens. This the angel showed me. Okay, so I believe that heavens here, although the rest of this is relatively straightforward, I believe the word heavens here is improperly lowercase. That he means he was with God and with the angels who were showing him things, and he was in heaven. Heaven uppercase, as in God's habitation, that kind of plural. Heaven. And well, heavens plural, yes. That is 29 objects. That thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, heavens should definitely be plural, but it doesn't mean because it's plural that it has to be lowercase.
Okay. That's the whole idea of this, so we understand where you're coming from. We can't pick on you unless we actually know what your point is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm having a great conversation presently, not to embarrass him, with Jay Pasick and... well, anyway, interesting stuff. I really appreciate intelligent, critical people who are not sharpshooting but challenging me. I really appreciate that because it just makes me better able to enunciate, to speak these words, more able to explain things, and I look to be better. From them I heard all things and understood what I saw. That which will not take place in this generation, but in a generation which is to succeed at a distant point, on account of the elect. Now, the elect right here, the first time this is used, I believe, is in reference to the watchers, and we're going to get into that. So a distant period of time, a distant generation. Okay, well, how distant becomes the question. Okay, and again, presuppositions by religious people force them to say, oh, that he's talking about the flood, etc. And actually, in an overview, I agree with them. It's just, I don't believe that from the Bible and other works that it's talking about a flood of water. It is H2O at all, which I've been over. But
just to bring in, though, I think, though, the reason that people, whenever they make up stories back in them days, put things in the distant past. Same as, I was going to say same as with the ancient aliens, but that's quite, in line. That, but that there's a reason that they do that is because they can't put a time on it, and it makes it, just happened long ago.
Yeah. Well, I could make a straw man out of that so easy, Math.
But you get where I'm coming from. No, you do get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, but you already know what I'm about to say, right?
Huh?
Long, long time ago, I can still remember when. When you put something in the distant enough past, it makes it believable even if it weren't.
Yeah, that's a very in-sync way of putting it. Yes, it makes it more plausible.
Right. This is talking about the very, very distant future. Also, very, very believable in the time frame. That's one of the other things. You can put it in the far, far future, and it's just as believable at the time to the people. Let's see. On account of the elect, which I'm trying to say, I believe, is the watchers. Upon their account, I spoke and conversed with him, who will go forth from his habitation, the Holy and Mighty One, the God of the world. Okay, so this identifies here the word habitation means that it must be talking about uppercase heaven. It's not talking about the skies. So that should have been capitalized plainly. That's a mistake of the interpreter.
Can I ask
the transliteration?
I should have said this at the start, or did you? And I missed. Which version of Enoch are we using? What?
I believe this is. I think it's a pretty clean translation. It comes from the, that place in Africa. Bad with words and names.
It's a big continent.
What was that? Yeah, it's Ethiopia.
Oh, right.
Now, the Ethiopians had this story well before we ever found it written down, and they canonized it and made it part of their Bible, and it's, to my understanding, the only canonical Bible that includes the Book of Enoch.
So the Book of Enoch is actually in the Ethiopian Standard Bible. That's interesting.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's in their Standard Bible. Yeah, they had the story spoken, did not have it written down for a very, very long time. And the discovery of the same story in the, along with they were found in the cave. Of the scrolls.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
The Dead Sea, thank you. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovery of these parchment pieces only confirmed their story. So it was canonized.
Well, I'm sure that we could go from there usually is a difference in the story after it's been travelled vocally for so many years compared to being written down. I'm sure we could probably go into the differences between
I haven't looked into that. I should be looking into that, and forgive me, I'm only 7 years old, so I just haven't had time to look into everything.
Oh, no, that's fine, man. The fact you haven't looked into it, it just saves us 20 minutes of a tangent, so...
Sure. I would like to know any differences between the spoken story and what was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That would be interesting to find out. I should look that up.
Yeah, because like Chinese whispers, it could possibly change over time.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons so much of this is so repetitive, is so that you can't just mistake it out of existence. Pardon me. Who will hereafter tread upon Mount Sinai, appear with his hosts, and be manifested in the strength of his power from heaven. Again, that should be capitalized. And shall be afraid, and the watchers be terrified. So this shall be afraid, I believe, is referring to the people who observe this. That would be people on earth. Mm-hmm. And the watchers will be terrified in that moment. But if you look into Mount Sinai and what it could plausibly mean is God's heaven, not a mountain on this planet. Okay? Right. Which is why he appears with his hosts on Mount Sinai and is manifested in the strength of his power from heaven. Well, he can't be both on Mount Sinai and in heaven unless that's the same thing.
Right.
And the watchers will be terrified. Okay, so if it is true that heaven has never appeared to this earth in force, and what's being described here is the hosts of heaven and God appearing to this earth, and the watchers will be terrified. This also is in coordination with the verses after the flood in the Bible saying, and after that. There were giants in the days, chapter 6 of the book of Genesis.
Before the flood, the Nephilim or Nephilim or whatever way you want to pronounce it.
And also after that. Okay, so I'm going to say loosely right now and back it up later that this is claiming that the descendants of the Watchers or the Nephilim exist on the earth today and that the Watchers are not dead even right now.
So you believe that the Nephilim are in existence on earth right now and that the Watchers, wherever they are still watching?
I can give some genetic testimony to the same. I mean, actual science that we have. And what a measuring line is and what it means to be measured for sin and all that's connected. And I'd love to do that sometime. It's a little off topic right now.
Yeah. Finding genetic evidence of the Watchers, I think, would be, of angels, of aliens, would definitely be front page news.
Well, it was. Just nobody cared. It was in Science Magazine. I mean, it was way out there. It was big. Nobody cared. But anyway, great fear and trembling shall seize them the watchers, even to the ends of the earth, which is when this thing would happen. The lofty mountains shall be troubled, and the exalted hills depressed, melting like honeycomb in the flame. The earth shall be immerged, and all things which are in it perish, while judgment shall come upon all, even upon all the righteous. And this agrees with me with pre-trib rapture, that even believers are going to see the first half of end times.
Sorry, I'm just reading over the lines again and trying to keep up and just let it all sink in.
It's a lot. It's pretty dense from the view that I've adopted, it's pretty dense in information.
Yeah.
Now, I know that most people don't read this and see this kind of thing that I'm talking about. I understand that. But it's all due to what I've adopted, what I've accepted as a way to read the text, that it makes me have this view about all the text.
Well, you couldn't, you would have to be consistent, which we have to credit you for that. You are. If you're going to say...
I am consistent.
Everything has to be all tied in together, obviously.
Right, with no holes. And if there's a hole, it should be gigantic and it should not fit at all. And by the way, I found some apocryphal books that are gigantic holes, and I believe they don't fit at all, and I think men wrote them.
Well, I think we all have our different opinions on who wrote what, but I'd say that the consensus is that men wrote most of the books.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to point out that if this book right here is not a lie, then Enoch wrote portions of it in the habitation of God, and we are looking at paper that followed.
Sorry, say that
I'm just
again?
saying he came back. I'm saying Enoch wrote portions of the book, like the angels were performing a stage play for him.
Right.
Imagine it as a stage play, a high-tech, three-dimensional images, holographs, the whole deal, right? Imagine it on the holodeck of the Enterprise, and that's where Enoch was.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, from what I know of Enoch, he was brought up, he's seen all lights, and I've seen, the Ancient Aliens episode where they say, this could be interpreted as a spaceship. I've
Well, I mean, a little off topic, but all of religion everywhere is basically saying that intelligence that spawned us came from off this planet, came to this planet to do it. That's the very definition of an alien, no matter what your religion.
Oh yeah, we've discussed that before, but I think if I didn't mention it before, but if God is in a different dimension, then he's everywhere, so he is technically on Earth as well. So
I don't think that's what those lines mean, but
no,
I can see the view. I can certainly see that view.
Being an interdimensional alien is different than being an alien off planet. That's all I'm trying to point out.
Oh yeah, that would be different, and some Christians and others view it that way. Absolutely.
Yeah, their version of God is interdimensional. Yours has a physical form, but they generally don't credit him now having a physical form. Back in the day, he did, and he may in the future. But God is, if it's going to be described as an alien, it would be like a multi-dimensional alien.
Well, gosh, there is one line of the Bible that kind of supports something of that.
There's also the bad Indiana
totally
Jones
off topic,
movie.
but well, I was actually sticking to the text, but yeah, in the book of Revelation, John is speaking about heaven in the skies and all the things that heaven does and the angels do while they're there, and at the very end of one of the iterations of the story, which it's repeated 3 times, but at the end of one of the iterations of the story, he says, "And then heaven rolled up like a scroll, and the mountains were moved." Well, I mean, I'm imagining in my head from that line, as described in the same book, planet and moon-sized actual objects rolling up like a scroll, and there being some kind of, I don't know, time shockwave.
Well, things
that's
like
created by that? I don't even know what to call that.
Not to support your idea, but if you do look at things around black holes and wormholes and things like that they do seem to warp because you're looking at light from behind them. And it does have that effect
that's
that
interesting.
it could roll over.
Yeah, I guess you're right, it would. But that's another story.
Yes, yeah. And I'm here supporting you. I'm
that's
supposed
series
to be picking
4.
holes in this. I'm not supposed to be fucking helping you.
No, but it actually does make sense when you start to see the view of it. It actually is plausible. Now, I'm not saying we presently have that technology. I'm not saying that in any way. But it is plausible. But to them shall he give peace. We're right back to the same subject of the watchers, held for and terrified of the end of this earth. But he shall give them peace. He shall preserve the elect, and towards them exercise clemency. Okay, so the elect, or believers, people who would elevate to heaven, I think that's pretty obvious.
Sorry, I got tagged twice in the chat. I'm worried about my audio, but it seems to be fine now.
Okay. Then shall all belong to God. That is, some things don't. Be happy and blessed, and the splendor of the Godhead shall illuminate them.
Now, Godhead is capitalized there. Godhead and God. It would be interesting to look up what that original word was.
Gosh, I don't even know the original language this was this was written in. I don't even know that. Should be something to look at, though. You're right.
The reason for it, because God and Godhead are obviously 2 different words in the English language, so I would assume that they were used, 2 different words were used in the original.
I would think so.
I would assume so, but...
Yeah, we have a lot of compound words. Blame Germany.
Blame Germany for that, but...
A lot of the English words are derivatives of compound words from German. That's why I said that. I love the German people just like I love everybody. But
oh yeah, no, definitely. I have German friends help me build a computer and other stuff and things like that. So yes, definitely friendly people. Just when you said that it's a British humour, anyone else here from the UK would remember the joke from the sitcom back in, I think it's the 70s or the 80s. Don't mention the war! Was it Faulty Towers? Faulty Towers, yes. You should look up Faulty Towers, Richard. You enjoyed it. It's very funny.
What? Faulty tires?
Faulty Towers.
Faulty Towers.
Yes.
Oh, I've seen some of that. I've seen. Oh boy, that's hilarious stuff.
It is a
Anyway,
funny story. Richard, you entertain the crowd for 2 seconds. They let the dog out.
that should be so hard for me. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon them, and destroy the wicked, and reprove all the carnal for everything which the sinful and ungodly have done and committed against him. Okay, so again, I think the word him here should be capitalized. The sin was committed against God. A singular him. 10,000s of his saints. So I think this is talking about the host of heaven. I think that's pretty obvious. To execute judgment upon them, the watchers, and also destroy the wicked and reprove all the carnal for everything which the sinful and ungodly have done and committed against him. Okay, so that would be what of us perish off of the earth, carnally perish, which is not the same thing as spiritual perishing.
Is this saying then that God is going to send 10,000 of his saints to kill everybody and destroy all the wicked?
To kill everybody, I think, would be an exaggeration.
No,
but to kill everybody of the watchers would be accurate.
So when he says destroy the wicked and reprove all the carnal, he's making reference to the watchers being wicked.
Let's see. Let me see it again. I'll go over it carefully. 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon them, which the topic is the watchers. So them there would mean the watchers.
Yeah.
And destroy the wicked. So that's additional. And destroy the wicked, and reprove all the carnal for everything which was the sinful and ungodly have done.
I
really should get right here into the word sinful.
There's an army of 10,000 coming to kill, obviously, the watchers. I'm just wondering, who else is in danger of getting wiped out here?
Their children.
So it's just in reference to their children.
And eventually those... By the time you get to the end of the plagues, the earth is literally melting. That's why all the mountains were melting like wax, and there was no more sea, because being described as the removal of the oceans off the planet, which would allow the crust in certain places to overheat. So that's why the mountains would melt like wax, and there was no more sea, and no island could be found. So what it's talking about here in the lake of fire and the reproval of flesh, the carnal, is people standing literally in a lava flow, which makes it pretty easy to understand why they'd have gnawing of tongue and gnashing of teeth. I think I would if I stood in a lava flow, I'm pretty sure.
You wouldn't last very long.
Yes, luckily you won't last very long.
No.
In fact, at some point I would just dive in and get it over with.
Yeah. You just melt your... I don't think you'd even have the time to consider that. If lava hit you, you'd just be, what?
Oh, if it hit you. Yeah. You wouldn't have time to think about it. So thousands of his saints. Not 10,000, 10,000s. So it's a really big number multiplied, I think is the idea there.
10,000 men.
Not 10,000, 10,000s. Like my brain wants to put a hyphen between 10 and 1,000.
And my brain's going the way that it's slightly old
You're
English.
Multiplying.
Pardon?
Yeah. And you're doing a multiplication problem.
No. What I'm thinking is it's old English, and instead of saying thousands, it actually means 1,000. Because of the ways of old English. This clearly isn't modern English. We're not going to see any yeets in the middle of this.
Yeah, right. True story.
Shout out for Tog.
Hard to say. I'm just going to say really big number. Just a really big number of them, and that's good enough for now.
I will give you that. Regardless of what it is, 10,000 to them probably was an absolutely massive number, and to us it's nothing because it's not even a small village now. But to them, it could have been all the people in the local area.
Right.
But that just leads towards the point I'm making, that they're just saying things that, mean things rather than being literal.
Yeah, I mean, there's several places where it quotes numbers that are extremely rounded off. So I think that they're very rounded off as saying generally, a big number. It's not an exacting number. Okay.
Okay.
Let's survey your side chat and see if has anyone something to say.
We were
I'm
talking
starting to
about
speak like the book reads.
We were talking about how funny Faulty Towers was for about a week. But if anyone wants to, of course they know. I think anyone who's watched this knows that if they shout out a question, that you will answer. I don't think you're afraid of. You're not afraid of questions. Different answers than we might want, but I don't think you're afraid of questions. Oh, I see one. Mr. Shadow Kitty has mentioned a wee while back, Godhead is mentioned often in the Baghdad Gahita, if I said that correctly.
You said it poorly, yes.
Poorly, yes. Other than that, I've just got, Faulty Towers and one guy's going yeet. I'm sorry that my crowd... Okay, my audience isn't very intelligent right now, okay? We're like a bunch of kids. We just enjoy the crack.
The Bhagavad Gita is Hindu, if you didn't already know that. And yes, there's a lot there about the Godhead. Absolutely. And in fact, the birthing of God, which the Bible has. Let's see. All who are in the heavens know what is transacted there. So the main topic here, if I'm understanding it right, is earth in end times. So that would be the there. They know that the heavenly luminaries change not their paths, that each rises and sets regularly, every one at its proper period without transgressing the commands which they have received. They behold the earth and understand what it is what is there transacted from the beginning to the end of it. Okay, so just a complete story of the planet. I don't think there's anything really to be interpreted there, that by our view the stars don't move, and you could never see that in a human lifetime. And very little even in the entire age of man on the earth. The several eons that would be.
Yeah, the time it takes the stars to actually move in the sky, it does move, but for relative to us, that's why everything works. Like, give it long enough, there'll be a new North Star. It's just the way things are. Like,
if I'm reading the astrology quoted in the Christian text correctly, then it means that man has been
it correctly. You mean?
No, I mean if I'm reading it correctly, then. It's pretty direct, that part. I don't know. The Jews even have astrology charts and a zodiac.
Yeah. The ancient Near East were very, very good. Islamic and all that there were very, very good at their astrology, but I just didn't know there was an astrology lesson in the Bible.
Yeah, it's the blessings of Israel on his 12 sons. They represent the 12 positions of the zodiac. That is when you were born. What part of the year you were born into. Which is why it's not about some tribes of Jews. It's about the entire planet.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Most people take it as the tribes of Jews. You take it as the planets. So that's why I used the word interpretation.
Yeah, I can... Okay, fair enough. I don't think it's...
I don't want to fight over
really
semantics,
have...
But,
I know the stuff that I say is really super weird, but I have an easier time justifying it than they do what they describe as the way they see things in the text.
I understand.
Like, there really are 12 constellations. There really are.
Oh, yeah, I understand that from your point of view, yours is easier and does make more sense and is easier to justify, but it is your view. So whenever I say interpretation, it is your interpretation of what
That's fair. Yeah, it's not offensive or anything. Yeah, you're accurate. Let's see, where were we at here? They see that every work of God is invariable in the period of its appearance. They behold summer and winter, perceiving that the whole earth is full of water, and that the cloud, the dew, and the rain refresh it. Okay, so, a pretty off-the-planet view there. talking about seasons and seasons changing.
You're just flying through it, man. Before we finish going over something, wait, because I'm only rereading. I need to reread it a couple of times to get your interpretation of what it actually says.
I'm
stuff
sorry.
Like that. I know you're not trying to be disingenuous, right? It's just I hear your interpretation and I go to reread it and it fucking vanishes. It's like, what? Bring it back.
Yes, you shouldn't have let me do that the first time.
No, it's fine. The first time I got it, I says if he does it again, I'll mention it. So yeah, everybody gets one.
Good.
But I don't see. Well, I'd be people's in their interpretations and things like that, but I just see it as waffle. Okay, go on ahead. I've lost my place, but just no next time.
Well, we're not in any hurry. Read it again and see if that reading it just quickly makes something snap in your head that you wanted to say. I mean, obviously you wanted to see something. You want to talk about something. They
behold summer and winter, perceiving that the whole earth is full of water. What do you mean by perceiving the whole earth is full of water? What does that highlighting mean in this particular version?
The italicized words.
Yes.
They're saying that in the briefing at the beginning of it, in the preface that I did read, says to be taken literally.
So if it's in italics, that's actually happening in the physical world.
That's what they're saying, yes.
So they behold summer and winter, and that's their interpretation, but they actually see that the whole earth is full of water, and that the cloud and the dew and the rain refresh it. That's what they're physically seeing.
Right, that's what it would mean literally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, unlike the King James Version, italicized words were put in there.
I'm just trying
to make better sentences.
I'm just trying to, in my head, find a physical justification for, if I put your head in a fishbowl, then obviously everything you would see would look like water, but that's not really something that would have happened here. Unless they put him in a spacesuit and filled him full of water like in the Abyss. But
see, I think from off of this planet, not on any particular place on the planet, but from off of the planet, looking at the planet, this is very accurate.
Well, if you are looking from the planet and you're taking that that view, then yes, I can give you that straight away, because it is known as the big blue dot. It is, 70-odd% water. We are mainly water, and if you're taking that point of view and seeing that, then I can give you that.
I think it's a description from off the planet, like saying circle of the earth.
Right, well, I understand your point of view better than when you said it and then scrolled past. So yeah, this is better. If you're taking the point of view that you're looking, because I'm trying to, in my head, find a physical justification of what actually could be happening rather than God and the aliens and all that. But then, as you say, from your point of view, you're trying to say that you're looking at the planet. It is known as a pale blue dot, and it is mainly water. So.
Well, if Enoch is supposed to be writing this from heaven, and heaven's supposed to be not on the planet, and from what I can understand of what heaven's uppercase would mean is 29 moon and planet-sized objects, then definitely he would see the earth from that perspective from in God's habitation. No doubt.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out where you're going from, because again, because this is so ingrained in you, this story, this perception, this idea is so ingrained in you. You can jump to different things quicker than I can, because you already have the idea there as a foundation. I'm still trying to grasp everything.
It is very deep in my heart. It is in my head, and it is parting my lips. I really just can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, well, if you're 7 years in, how long have I been doing this with you? Maybe about 7 months.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is all very new to everyone I'm speaking it to, except for some people who've known me for a very long time. And they only have it since 2012 too, so it's new, generally speaking. Right. This is something I've been meaning to look up for years, and I never have done it. How many major classifications are there of deciduous trees on the planet? Is it 14?
I don't know. That's a really random question, because we were just talking about people that know you in real life, and all of a sudden you come out with deciduous trees. Now, I know where you're going with this.
It's in the text right here.
I know, but you haven't read it yet.
I know.
This is the eucalyptus tree thing you were mentioning before we had a chat, wasn't it?
No, we haven't gotten near that part yet.
Oh, no, sorry. Well, then I'm wrong. I'm assuming where you were going, because when you mentioned trees, that was something that you had made very... it was important in the story when you told me it at the time.
I think it is important. It's the one thing in the story that I thought could not be faked, and what really got my attention, and in fact what got me to pick up a Bible at all in my life.
Yeah.
Was that description of that tree that comes much later. But this talking about not deciduous, which I guess the opposite of that would be a conifer. I don't know of other classifications. Perhaps there are.
Well, we are quite lucky at the moment. Tony Designs, if I would be saying this right, has a wee bit of a hobby in, isn't it, botany? We could ask Tony, I'm sure, with his sources and...
his hobby is anything scientific. That's his hobby. Anything at all.
Your hobby's this and my hobby's talking. So I think if we all just stick to what we do, we're not.
Is he in the chat? Can you get him to look that up? How many major classifications of conifers exist? Earth-wide.
Well, where else?
That would be interesting.
Earth-wide. I don't think that he...
I mean, over the whole Earth.
But I mean, I giggled when you said that, because it was like, yes, I'm sure he'll look that up. He's not going to check how many deciduous trees is on Mars.
I'm saying it that way on purpose, because this text actually physically is old, and before we had travel, and before we discovered every landmass on the Earth by what we would consider to be civilization. And because of that, and the age of this story, then there's no way for Enoch to know there were exactly 14 different kinds of conifers. That's my point.
He says there is 2 major types of deciduous trees, and there is, according to Nerdy, who just did a quick search, there's over 500 different types of conifers.
And that's not the question. I mean, great answers, not the question.
Well, what was your question then, just to clarify? Because that's
what are the 14? How many major types of conifers exist worldwide? I just never looked it up. I mean, this could be wrong. I'd like to see if it's wrong.
It up, and he said that there's 500 different types.
500 major classifications of conifers.
Well, I see the only difference between what you're saying and what he's typing is the word major.
Right.
You're going to have to figure out where in the line, like above that 500 types of conifer, I bet you it doesn't say I'm another type of conifer. It probably
there's more than 14 conifers on that landmass.
Across worldwide, there's more than 500 types of conifer, but when you go up to the next stage of... Right, I'll ask a question for Nerdy. When you go up the next stage of classification after that conifer, what is it referred to? And regardless of what it is referred to, is there 14 different types of that?
Right, that's really what I'm wondering.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The next stage above the conifers... Right, Tony has come in with an exact number. 588 different species.
Species?
Well, he's being more specific with the S. So there's 588 species. So when you go above that, you're not going to be in the species level anymore than you're into the family level, I do believe. Is that right? So how many of them is there, Tony? Oh, we're just sending the fucking... We're making the chat work.
Make them work for it. They got that blue spanner. Make them work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Tony. You know, go to the next classification of... Yeah, we're going to have to do this anyway, because this is really distracting from the actual show.
And I don't... No, it's not. This is the actual show.
Well, if you're happy enough with that. Yeah, right. So above species level in the conifers, what is above it? See, if Aaron Ra had hurried up and finished his... What is it? The phylogeny project? We could just look that up.
And I'm also interested to know how long your average needle stays on a conifer. Is it actually 2 or 3 years? Is that accurate?
Have an answer. We have an answer from Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. And it is not 14.
What is it?
7. Which
7?
Is half of 14.
Oh, that makes me curious. That it's exactly half of 14.
I knew it would. I was hoping, like, as soon as it...
Oh, what does that mean?
As soon as I seen it, I was like, oh, could you not have been, like, 12 or, like, 2 or 4 or something? You had to be a bloody multiple of 14, didn't you?
That's interesting. Now I'm going to have to go and exegete the actual words there. Because what if they just did it wrong, and it shouldn't say 14? What if it's supposed to say 7?
What if it's supposed to say 104?
Well, if it's supposed to say 104, it's just dead wrong. That's just dead wrong.
What I mean is that if there's a mistranslation, we could mistranslate it anyway.
Sure.
Give me 1 second. My dog is being very annoying. I will be back.
Well, I'm gonna employ your resources in your side chat if the gentlemen would, ladies and gentlemen would. How long does a needle stay on a conifer? Is it actually 2 or 3 years? Is that part accurate at all? That would be curious, because it's making the claim of 2 or 3 years for all the different 14 trees, which are conifers, which would be quite a claim. Because, I mean, it's claiming knowledge of the whole planet. Moving on then. Again, they consider the days of summer, that the sun is upon it at its very beginning, while you seek for a covered and shady spot on account of the burning sun, while the earth is scorched up with fervid heat, and you become incapable of walking either upon the ground or upon the rocks in consequence of that heat.
Okay, I'm back.
It was just talking about the sun warming the planet, so nothing to interpret there. It just says sometimes the sun's so hot you can't even step on rocks or dirt. It's basically all it says right there. Not very deep.
Remember, Sammy Jenkins is in the chat. If he's still there, he'll back us up, because I was in a chat with him on Sunday night over in Brian's chat, Biblical History Skeptics, and they were talking about how hot it is. I think they come out at 51 degrees centigrade is how hot it is where Sammy is right now.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the only response I could come up with as well. Wow.
Ouch.
Yeah, I live in air conditioning. I just live in an air conditioning environment. Hello, Carlton. Thank you very much for jumping in, Carlton. I appreciate you being here, man.
Carlton means, I'm sorry, jumping in means he's in the side chat or he's in the stream. Do I need to bring him up?
No, he's in my side chat.
Okay, I just wasn't sure what exact, because I can't see that screen right now reviewing the text.
Well, he actually came back with the answer. It seems that they fall off every year. And well, his exact wording is, every year it seems, Richard.
Okay, cool. So that part's inaccurate. Okay.
And Sammy is confirming, yep, it's that warm over there now.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I seriously cannot. Chapter 6. They consider how the trees, when they put forth their green leaves, become covered and produce fruit, understanding everything, and knowing that he who lives forever does all these things for you. That the works at the beginning of every existing year, that all his works are subservient to him and invariable, yet, as God has appointed, so are all things brought to pass. They see too how the seas and the rivers together complete their respective operations. I need to disconnect my brain.
Oh, slow down, go back down.
Okay.
Right. So we've got, oh no, you didn't have to go back that far. So the works, the beginning of which exist. You went back too far. I was reading 2 and 3. I'm on 2 and 3, but you didn't get rid of it. It's good. Right, so at the works at the beginning of each existing year, that all of his works are subservient to him and invariable. Yet as God is appointed, so are all things that are brought to pass. Your interpretation of that, please.
I think there's nothing there to interpret other than it's making a huge claim that God's in charge.
Okay, that's grand. Moving on then.
It's, I mean, just a really big claim.
Okay, right. I can get where you're coming from. All right.
Of course, if it is true that either our ancestors collected, which wouldn't explain, that's a broken sentence, collected all of the different types of animals and ourselves, or excluding ourselves, from other planet sources, which would not explain the genetic similarity, and planted all those things here, then yeah, it's working just as he designed it. It has no choice. And then the flip side of that other view, if the genetic similarities between life forms on this planet is because we all come from a singular source, then that too would be true. That these things are quote unquote obeying God. That's how I would see that.
Okay, I do apologize about this, but I'm going to get my shotgun and shoot my dog. He is being very, very annoying, so I'm just going to just put him outside and leave him outside. So if you could just give me 1 second, please.
Certainly.
Certainly.
I'm going to wait for you to return because...
Lucy, thanks very much for coming over, Lucy. I don't know what I've done to cross you, but supposedly you're angry at me. I love you. I love you.
Now, wait a minute. I've heard Lucy say that she was angry about stuff before. And not be actually angry. Just expressing herself. Is it one of those, Lucy? Or are you really, really pissed? I should have had some elevator music ready to go for this.
Sorry, he's being a wee shit because he knew there was leftover dinner and he wouldn't eat his dinner. He was sitting at the kitchen door the first time I left and his dinner's out and he's like, no, I'm not eating that. I know you've got some beans on your plate. I was like, eat your dinner? No, I'm not eating it. Oh.
I want your food. Your food's better because you're cool.
Yeah. And now that he's got that, he's back over underneath me going, right, I'm full up now. Can you let me back out so I can go to the toilet again? I'm like, I fucking hate you right now. You know I'm streaming you shit. So, Lucy is angry at everybody.
Okay.
Richard's going to continue on with chapter 3 and further.
Well, I'm going to love her through her anger with me. Because I'm a somebody too. So I must be included. They see too how the seas and the rivers together complete their respective operations. But you endure not patiently, nor fulfill the commandments of the Lord, but you transgress and culminate his greatness. And malignant are the words in your polluted mouths against his majesty, ye withered in heart. No peace shall be to you. Do you need to read that?
No. So basically what he's just saying there is nothing. Earlier in the text, he said he was going to give peace to them, and now he's saying they ain't getting no peace.
Oh, no. It did not say it was going to give peace to them. It said it was going to give peace to some of us, while they get no peace.
Okay, they're getting screwed over, and the humans are grand.
Yeah. Basically, in modern English, this would be, y'all messed up. Forget it.
I think that seems to be my problem, and I haven't read Old English in a while. Your Bible that you would probably read on a regular basis is Old English, isn't it? Considering it's from 15,
technically speaking,
15,
it's...
Let me see if I can get this right. Is it 15? It's definitely the 1500s, yes?
Yes, early 1500s.
Is it 20-something? 20-something? No.
No. 37.
Damn it.
The 1537 is in Middle English, which is worse than Shakespeare if you like Shakespeare. It's worse than the King James. Now, it's only about 70 years older than that, but there was a lot of transformation in the English language during those years.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Old English in general.
I don't know. I can't read Old English, but I have learned to read Middle English to be able to read the 1537 Matthews. I learned it just for that reason alone. Not because I ever went to college for Shakespeare or anything.
Could one say that version with its ye olde styley English could be interpreted and is more vague, could be more open to interpretation, I think is the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's cheating.
No, I'm just asking. I'm not cheating. I'm asking.
No, I'm saying people who promote ideas like that are cheating.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and here's why I'm saying they're cheating. Bleu in French means blue in English. They're two different words. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing, though. A bonnet is a hood of a car.
According to Tony, no, he corrected me in the chat the other day because he says he gets under the hood of something, and I said I get under the bonnet of something and credited it to him, and he was like, no, I don't say that. I say under the hood.
That's right. In America, it's not called a bonnet. It's just not called that. And what do you guys call the trunk of the car?
The boot.
The boot. That's right. I knew it was a different word, but it means exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say in biblical criticism or in any literary criticism of any ancient text all around the planet, you can always say that every single word in that book has been changed to the point where there's been more changes than words, and you're accurate.
And would you say
because
it
went through more than one language?
Would you say that that's easier to happen vocally transferring a story?
I don't know. I don't hold a lot of clout in people's verbal translations of stories. It's too easy for the brain to mess up. I think that's why we write things down and draw pictures, etc.
There's Lucy has said that she feels that we've dumbed down the language, yet we've progressed in technology. Emojis is now a language, and it's easy for us because we look at it, but you take 1,000 years, 3,000 years, and somebody looks at that, they would have no idea what an emoji is.
Right.
It's something very similar and could be, you could make an argument to say that it's similar to pictographs from the Egyptians. Each symbol, each picture represented something. That's exactly what emojis is.
Yeah. Yeah, they're modern pictographs. I mean, I never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right.
Carlton has just made a comment, isn't language amazing, which made me think of the Latin, how it was taken over and moved to France and Spain and became English, and it actually transferred into that, yet in Italy it stayed and it changed into Italian. It didn't need to go anywhere, to get influences. It stayed and became Italian, moved around and became everything else. Language is amazing.
Okay, what's that? Language is yes.
Amazing.
and for anyone who's a strict materialist, consider that language is immaterial, and so are lots of things. But anyway, okay, so I think perhaps we'll just finish up this little page right here, and we'll call it an episode. Put a bow on this thing, wrap it up.
If it's been an hour, yeah, we can go with that, man. Yeah,
yeah, it's already been an hour. The clock says so. It doesn't seem that way to me, but the clock says so.
Yeah, right.
But you endure not patiently, nor fulfill the commands of the Lord, but you transgress and culminate his greatness, and malignant are the words in your polluted mouths against his majesty. Ye withered in heart, no peace shall be to you. Therefore your days shall you curse, and the years of your lives shall perish. Perpetual execration shall be multiplied, and you shall not obtain mercy. And we'll stop right there at the beginning of 7. All right.
Oh, did we get 6 chapters in? I think we did well then.
Can you believe it? It's absolutely true.
Well,
okay, so
sort of,
so my side chat has not moved, not one time.
We've got 15 over here. Hello, Converse Contender. Hi, how are you? And Dr. Zayas has turned up as well, and we've got Lucy going to watch Harry Potter.
Right on.
But we appreciate you all turning up. Thanks very much.
I can't even get this thing to load on my monitor screen. I've still got the original thumbnail up there, and it won't change. That's odd.
Critical, or not critical, sorry. There's too many CCs. Converse Contender and Critical Cripple. Blah, blah. Have you any questions from the chat over here? Converse is being another. He's got WhatsApp Tony and MathPig and everybody else. But if we've any questions in the chat on my end for Richard, if there's just out of curiosity, has anybody in my chat seen, or sorry, not seen, because we've read the Book of Enoch before? This is only your second or third time reading it, Richard?
I read it one time in 2012. I just read it continuously through. I didn't even know what prayer was. Even though I was raised Catholic, they never told me what prayer was, so I didn't even know what that meant. So I had not yet prayed in my life when I read this.
So this is your first time reading it from this point of view?
Yes.
Oh, so these interpretations that you're not coming up with, sorry. I didn't mean to be an asshole.
It's coming up with is fine. Yeah, it's following within. I've never read this before in this interpretation.
Yeah, so your thoughts are coming out of your brain as we see it, as it's happening. You have not
just right off the hip.
Yeah. Yeah, we should keep doing that. Put the book down and don't read it till next week.
Oh, I won't.
Yeah, because
I had opportunity to read it between when you and I started arranging this and now.
Yeah, and I've never read it before, so it's good that we're going through it at the first time, you know? Maybe in 6 years when we're doing a recap of all the things we've done together, we can maybe do it again and understand it this time.
I really don't think my view is going to change much. I am interested in the word 14 versus the number 7. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in knowing if in Asia there are only 14 groups or types or species, I guess I should say species, of conifers. If it only applies to Asia, that would be interesting. If the Asian conifer does keep its needle for 2 or 3 years instead of 1, I would like to know that.
Can I just say that going from a worldwide view and you got 588 and now you're changing it to Asia and hoping to get the answer you wanted, can I just point that out?
Well, the only time that I have claimed that the book is talking about the whole earth is from the view of heaven, and talking about the knowledge of the eucalyptus tree. And I'm willing to accept correction if what I'm seeing says that if where my mind wants to go is more universal, but this story is actually more landmass, I'm okay with that. I'm willing to take correction.
Yeah. But you said taking correction, and I say looking till you find something that suits.
Well, that was a sampling of 2. It's either the whole planet or the landmass. There's a lot more options there I could choose. Like I say, I'm going to pick the 4 biggest continents. Yeah, I'm going to pick the 2 biggest continents. I could.
You're saying Asia, right? But Asia is something defined by us, and then you said landmass, and that could be all of Eurasia. You know. Yeah. So there's different ways.
I don't know what you mean by Eurasia.
Like Europe and Asia, it's all one big landmass. You know. Continents are split.
I guess technically it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You said Asia, so if you don't find it in Asia, you could go to a bigger one, which is the landmass.
No, I promise you, I won't keep cherry picking. I have a sampling size of 2.
Yeah, that's all I'm. That's all I'm.
It's either Asia or the planet, and if it doesn't work in either one, I'm just going to say it's wrong.
Why Asia? You need to look up now.
Because that's where he lived.
By our standards.
Asia, what do you mean by our standards?
Asia is something that we have defined.
The Arabic nation, from what I understand, is definitely on that major landmass that we call Asia.
Okay. I'm just trying to point out that Asia isn't something that they had. Landlines change.
No, of course not.
Borders change. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
And by saying
you bring up a good point. Maybe now you're making me reconsider the word Asia and even the thought process Asia.
Good.
Perhaps you're right that. So what would he call his universe? If you're talking about Enoch, some 40 to 60-year-old dude who could read and write, what would he call his world?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to narrow it down to just one choice. Not Asia, not Eurasia, not the world. I'm trying to narrow it down to his universe, what that would be, and have one answer. And if it's not there, then it's wrong.
I still think there's 2 answers, either off the planet or his universe. It's got to be one of those 2. It shouldn't be anything else. I shouldn't even look further than that.
Yeah, well, you could say that, can you smell my fart? No, well, there's only 2 choices. You can smell it in your universe or my universe. Them things are huge because universes are massive. So by saying it's in the universe, everything is in the universe. And if he gets his
That's not what I meant. I meant his universe.
His surrounding area, what he considers everything to him.
Right.
Just for clarification, just when you said the word universe and we're talking interdimensional beings, he could have his entire own universe and everything is in universes.
Right. Yeah, but if I'm talking about Enoch as 4,500. I'm sorry. Hold on. Oxford University Press says almost 6,000 years ago. 5,400 and
you mentioned that before. But
some
did
odd.
you look that up and find the citation for that? The bits.
I did. I found it no problem at all.
Perfect. Well,
It was. I did have to shave a little bit off. It's not quite 6,000. That's not exactly what they said. Okay, but 6,000 is not a terrible estimate either.
Well, do you know what we'll do? We will save the continuation of that for the starting point of the next episode, because I would like to go into that, the age of Enoch, where it's coming from, how old you think it is, how old the papers think it is. And I did want to do a wee bit of research, and that's why we had originally scheduled this on my channel for next week. But then I had nothing to do tonight. I was bored, and it was like, Richard, it was like, fuck it, we'll go for it. So,
I consider it to be profound in knowledge not held by the people of the Arabic nation. If it only describes, if the whole book was trash, I'd be okay with that. As long as it actually does define, and has to be defining, a eucalyptus tree, which not discovered until the whites came over to that area when they settled it, when England found it. I only need the book to be older than that. That's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, you've said that before, but we've discussed that, and I wanted to go into what it is mainly thought of the age, and then what your interpretation of the age was. But
yeah, human beings could have written the whole story except for that part of the tree, and it be the correct age that people who estimate the age of the book say that it is. I'm good.
Right, well, that's what we will save for next week. You'll do a wee bit of homework for your interpretation. I'll try and do a wee bit of homework for my...
That is a wee bit, because that's about a 5-minute search. That's easy.
Yeah, well,
You just have to look up Book of Enoch, Oxford University Press, 2012, and that's written on the first 10 pages. I can't remember what page.
Email it to me, man. Email it to me, because then I'll have an actual record of it. And I'll have something that'll go ding, and I'll be able to look it up. Oh, question from Critical Cripple. Did Richard go live? Did Richard actually go live with this stream? Because he can't find it on your channel.
Oh, well, I attempted to, whether it went live or not. You know what? I did hit go live, and it did not go live. He's right. It never did go up. Okay, I'm reading in red letters above that. It reads, "You've reached your streaming limit for the month. See your plan page for more info." So there you go. That's why I didn't go live. I'm not allowed to.
Oh, you see, that's why I use the OBS workaround. I don't have a stream limit.
Now that's interesting. How much does OBS cost?
It's free.
Oh, I'm so there. I've been having to meter how many shows I can do in a month. And that's been a real pain. I didn't know that you could do unlimited shows through that.
Well, it's technically not an unlimited show, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it off screen. So yes,
right on.
We have Converse Contender in the chat who has mentioned that Enoch isn't scripture. I'm interested to see, why is it not scripture? Is it because them certain people decided to not put it in the Bible? You did miss at the start that Richard brought up that the Book of Enoch that we are using tonight comes from the Ethiopian Bible, who do consider it scripture. Would I be correct in saying that, Richard?
So far, so good.
Perfect.
If I could expound on that, I think the reason that it was eliminated in Nicaea, depending on who you are and where you're from, I think the reason they eliminated it is because they decided it was another copy of the Book of Revelation. They liked the Book of Revelation better, so they threw out Enoch. Like a lot of books got thrown away for that reason.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, if you're going
to... Like, even the Book of Revelations barely made it in. Would I be right in saying that as well, or is that something I heard in the movie?
I think they were going to keep one of them. They kept the 4 Gospels out of more than 4. They could have taken a lot more than that. They chose those 4. We could have had, which if you look at the Catholic canon, it still has all that stuff.
Yeah. There's more books in the Catholic one than there is in the...
Right, but it's also a 30-pound book in small print.
I think I mentioned that.
Who wants to haul that thing around?
Yeah. Well, right. Well, Diana has just turned up, which is a shame because Diana, we've been wrapping up. Well, we've been wrapping up for this last 15 minutes, but that's what me and Richard do. We slobber on. So we're going to start next week's episode with what Richard's research shows the age of the Book of Enoch is, and I'm going to show it as to what general consensus things that the Book of Enoch's age is, and then Richard's going to say it doesn't fucking matter because it's older than X, and we're landed.
Yep, that's what I'm going to say probably. I might find the time to look into the word 14. That's interesting. Universal, because he said there was 7 instead of 14, and that's just too weird that it, translatable so easily. I'm going to look into the actual text and what that word 14 there means. That would be interesting. And I'm going to look into the major types. What is that? Species level? Is that what you say? Species?
Above species
of conifers in like Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, those kinds of areas. What Enoch would have considered his world.
Yes, I just want to point out, Converse has made a wee comment as well. It's pseudo-graphical, meaning it was attributed to Enoch, but was written thousands of years after it happened. Which is
That's a rumor that scientists who've tested the actual parchment are going to argue with you on.
Okay, I did not know that. Richard seems to have done a little bit of research, but yeah, we keep talking and we're supposed to be saying end and go bye-bye. Right, that's the age we're going.
Wait. Let me hedge what I just said. If what he meant, because I just processed it a new way. Okay. If what he meant was that the paper is not as old as the story, and the story's supposed to be thousands of years older than that, I totally agree with him.
Yeah, no, I actually read in the side chat, where was it I read? I was like, Converse, that will help him. Right, so on that, we will end. I'm maybe going to, if Richard's got some time, we're going to take him through OBS and see if we can upgrade Richard's production.
We need to, yeah.
Ever so slightly. Diana, thank you very much for turning up. Inquisitive, Sammy, Converse, Maya, I'm just reading up through the chat. Critical, B, Dr. Zayas, everybody, 2020, I really appreciate you all being here, starting off well, and yeah, a lot of love for everybody in the chat, a lot of love for Richard, he knows it. So on that note, if Richard wants to say anything, if you get anything coming up this week, Richard?
Yeah, of course I'm doing that series Sunday with this one guy on my channel, and it might be on OBS, because I'm kind of sick of these restrictions that StreamYard is making without me giving them money. I don't really care to give other people money.
No.
Unless it's out of the kindness of my heart.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
Okay, so all I'd say is peace and respect to you all, and thanks for coming by, and come by again.
What time's your stream on Sunday? I've got Nakasuchi coming on at 10 o'clock on my time, which would be 5 Eastern.
Right. Let's see. Is it 5 Eastern? It's we're doing those at 7 Eastern, 6 Central.
Oh, well, that gives me 2 hours to have the crack with Knock, and then I can jump over to yours, because that's probably what we'll end up doing, a couple hours anyway. So that's good, because I don't like missing out. I like coming and arriving for a wee while, and then we all run off and go to Brian's stream. Brian cooked a turkey. He lumped the computer, right, because he had to cook the turkey, because his Christmas dinner turkey went off when he left it to defrost. He left the freezer open and it defrosted, wasn't right, so they didn't get no Christmas dinner, and he had planned to do it on the barbecue. So he lumped his computer outside, set up the table outside, and last week cooked the turkey on the barbecue for a couple of hours and streamed with us.
That's great.
It was very fun, very fun. Biblical History Skeptics. If no one's checked out Brian's channel, it's the crack on a Sunday night is awful good, awful good. So on that note, I shall end the stream. Everybody, thanks very much for turning up, and bye-bye.